So it seemed like a lot of you guys really enjoyed this last video, so I'm definitely going to do, well, obviously another one, because, it seems like you guys really enjoy it. Just quickly before it starts, if you guys do want to submit your own story, there's going to be a link in the description down below, where you can quickly go and fill out the form, and there you go, you have a chance for your story to be played. And without further ado, let's just hop straight into it. It was a normal day of middle school until everyone was told to gather in the gymnasium. Having no choice, I obviously had to go to the gym with my class. Everyone was gathered to listen to a woman who was willing to tell her story of being physically and verbally abused by bullies at her high school. At first, I thought it would just be another sympathetic story and a way to motivate people to not bully and to come together as a community. But then she started going on about how, since the people who bullied her were Asian, all Asian people deserve punishment. I had to listen to her racial remarks for around 15 minutes until I told my teacher that I had to go to the bathroom. Honestly, I was pissed off with what she was saying, and I just wanted her to stop. That one thought entered my mind. She would have to stop talking if there was a scenario that forced her to leave. So I did what students didn't really have big enough balls to do. I pulled the fire alarm. Now, I had to plan this out, and I had to be careful. Most fire alarms were either in a classroom or in the hallway, which both have security cameras. So I had to find a fire alarm that didn't have a security camera inside or outside of a room. The room that met the criteria just so happened to be the same room I was in, the bathrooms. Without hesitation, I pulled the fire alarm in the boys' bathroom and listened to the fire alarms roaring throughout the halls. I waited until a lot of people were by the bathroom and simply blended in. Everyone was outside and teachers started doing head counts. A little bit later, the fire department showed up outside the school, and to their surprise, there was no fire. I managed to hold back my laughter, letting out only a couple giggles. I can only imagine how angry the firefighters were when they realized that it was a false alarm. On the bright side, my plan had worked. Instead of going back to the gym and listening to that bitch, everyone went back to their classes to carry on with their day, and I got off scot-free. If there's one thing I've learned from this experience, it's to call the fire department whenever someone is saying controversial things. If there's one thing that I learned from this, it is that is the biggest alpha male play I have probably ever heard, and probably the biggest alpha male play we have ever done on this video, series. Oh my god, imagine just, I don't feel like listening to her. Fire alarm time, Jesus Christ, I respect it. I respect it. It was an afternoon, September the 20th. I was walking home, and it takes me about an hour and a half. And today it was really cold, and it was just constantly raining. And while I was walking home, these kids that I absolutely despised just attacked me. The reason was I slept with his sister. I'm literally 13. I can't even do that if I tried. They threw their first punch, and I punched him back, and then a fight broke out. I got one to the ground, but there were around 5 of them, so a 4v1 isn't really gonna happen. Then they knocked me out, and the next thing I remember is waking up in the hospital, and I was told there was a teacher who drove past and saw it happen, and they called the ambulance and rushed me to the hospital. I had blood dripping out of my nose, and they broke my nose as well as my collarbone. And for that kid that went on the ground, all I did to him was sprain his wrist. All the 4 got suspended for about 2 months, and the kids were back from suspension. They started acting way nicer than they were before. Now, current day, when I'm writing this out, those 4 out of those 5 kids do drugs and vape, and they've just been expelled from the school. And for me, I have not walked home since. So I am so sorry to hear that. Obviously I presume everything's okay by now, considering I was at least a year ago. God, that I feel so bad. The only thing I can say is don't be scared to walk home just because of a couple idiots, alright? If you want to walk home, then you can definitely still walk home. I think they definitely learned their lesson, to say the least. They're not going... Oh boy, I got a little hiccup. They're not gonna mess with you anymore because, well, they literally got suspended and expelled, and if that happens again, then they could get put in jail. So, or I think juvie, not jail. Either way, they're gonna get in serious trouble. So. It was December 26th of 2020, and my birthday was the 27th. We were at my grandparents' house, and it was all going great until dessert. My brother, he just started being blatantly homophobic and transphobic, and I got mad and told him off. I went into a room to cool down afterwards, and here's where it really goes down. 3 months prior, I came out to my grandparents only to find out that they don't really support gay marriage, so I didn't really speak to them. While I was in that room, however, my granddad proceeded to yell at me for at least 30 minutes. I got scared and I asked him politely to leave, and that reciprocated in him yelling at me to get out of his house. Keep in mind, he was yelling as loud as he could so everyone could hear. I have not talked to either of my grandparents since. Even though it's a short story, that definitely is, well, pretty impactful, because usually when people come out to people, at least from my previous experience, it's always because they trust them and they're looking for support on their ideology. So something like that happening, that really stinks. I'm so sorry to hear that. The fact that he purposely made a scene so loud so everyone could hear him yell at you, that's kind of messed up. I'm so sorry to hear that. At least our community that we have is definitely not homophobic and all of that, considering that a large majority of the fan base, is a part of the LGBTQ community. So it's great to see that everyone's so supportive of each other. It was in 5th grade, so at the end of the year, we go to the beach on these really fancy buses. But there was a catch. If you got 3 of these incident reports, then you couldn't go. I was a bit of a, shall we say, special child. I don't remember the first 2 of these things that supposedly I got, but never filled out. But I do remember the last one. I got mad at some kid, so I did what they always told me to do: walk away. Little did I know this would result in a stressful legal battle to get my field trip back. My mistake? I headed around a corner that made it so I was hiding, so they gave me one of those incident reports. I still remember the moment when I was told that I couldn't go vividly. I got into the car and said, "Remember to cancel my counseling on Tuesday because that's when the field trip happens." My mom replied, crying, "You can't go." The rest of the car ride home was just filled with confusion and anger. The rest of the week was basically us preparing to sue the school for taking away my educational field trip about sea life. However, there was some heavy thunderstorming going on, so the trip was delayed about 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not going to go into too much depth, but basically it went like this. A good friend's dad told them to let me go. My next door neighbor and also lawyer told them to let me go because it was probably illegal. Multiple people inside the school told them to let me go. It took until the county lawyer said it to them for them to finally let me go. Coolest field trip of my life, by the way. The principal of that school is going to be the final boss of my life, however. That's so messed up that they just gave you like that last report without even talking to you and saying what happened. That was definitely a poor play on their part. They definitely should have been more inclusive and looking and trying to see the story instead of just using their eyes for 2 seconds saying, "Hey, this dude went over there, let's report him." That is kind of funny though, that it literally took until the county lawyer said something for them to finally give in. That says a lot about how strict schools can be sometimes. Even if you think they're wrong, they can be extremely strict. So make sure you guys keep that in mind. And hopefully you guys enjoyed our second story. It was a fun one. I think I definitely had some fun. It was cool, I really enjoy this, considering we get to... It's almost like a way to vent without, people really knowing if you don't want them to know. Like, obviously, some of these are anonymous, some of these are not. So it's a good way to just let it out to the community, and a good way to get feedback, and I really appreciate that, and I'm definitely excited for the next episode of this. Obviously, if you enjoyed and you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You made it this far into the video, you might as well. And also, make sure you join my Discord server, as that is where I can talk to you guys, and where I can give you guys heads up on all the video updates, and literally everything. Alright, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Wahoo.